Hi everybody, welcome to another video. Thanks for joining me. So I've just arrived up at Fernworthy Reservoir up on Dartmoor, going up for a night on the Moor. And yeah, I was thinking those clouds look a little bit grey. Could be an interesting night. All right. Well, there we go, some pretty typical British springtime weather. 1 minute hailstorm, and now we're back into beautiful sunshine. Wasn't expecting the hail, but certainly changeable weather. And rain is on the cards, and that's one of the reasons why I've come out tonight. Just to make it a bit more exciting. So there's a bit of a second go at this sort of place I'm camping tonight. I came up here a couple of weekends ago, and the weather was stunning. It was absolutely beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. Camped up at Sitterford Tor, but to be honest with you, nothing really happened, and I didn't have very much interesting footage, so I haven't made a video out of that. I'm going to try somewhere slightly different tonight, but essentially we're going to be walking sort of past that same area. So I've left the car at Fernworthy and just walking down the road here before picking up the path that cuts through the forest, and then going to pick up the path out onto the moor. Okay, well, we're here at the edge of the forest where we pick up the open moor. It's looking absolutely stunning. Conditions wise, yeah, you can probably tell it's fairly windy. It's not cold, mainly because I've got good gear on. But the sun's shining at the moment, no hail, no rain. So yeah, fingers crossed it stays like this for a while. Right, gonna have a look at the map and we'll get going. All right, well, we're about 5-10 minutes into the moor now, and where I want to camp tonight is right up there on that horizon. The little bit that's well, the rather large bit that's in the shade at the moment. And there's an area up there called Quinton's Man. It has a bit of Dartmoor legend about it. So if we manage to get up there, I'll tell you about it if I can get some signal to read about it, because I've kind of forgotten all the detail. But it's supposed to be a bit marshy up there, particularly with this weather. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be. My sort of fallback plan is to just camp on Sitterford Tor again, which is that tor up there. But yeah, I'm going to aim to get up to Quinton's Man. I can see the path sort of contouring around the hill here, sort of going up the valley. So that's going to be my line of attack. So here we are at Sitterford Tor, and this is exactly where I camped 2 weeks ago. Quite similar conditions now. I'm up here, bright and breezy. Certainly haven't seen any more of that hail, thankfully. So that's the wall that I'm talking about, the one that you can see going up into the distance. So I need to take a bearing from where I am to Quinton's Man. I'm not 100% certain whereabouts on the horizon it is. Pretty good idea, but I'm going to take a bearing all the same, just to make sure I know exactly where I'm going. Well, we've reached a very obvious bend, kink in this wall, which is always an excellent place to stop and take another bearing. So this was one of my attack points, with an attack point being a location on the map that's very obvious, that's in between you and your end destination, that you can use as a signpost almost, to tell you that you're on the right track. So it's given me an opportunity to stop, take another bearing, have a look on the map, and I know now that I'm 300 meters in this direction from Quinton's Man. So that is going to be just over the horizon here. There's actually a bit of a path there that's also marked on the map, so that makes it really nice and simple. All right, let's get going. There is a cairn up here, so that'll be the actual point where I'm headed for. Don't need to aim off or anything here, it's pretty straightforward. But other than the cairn, I've got no idea what is actually here or what's up here, but hopefully there might be somewhere to pitch a tent. See you when we get up there. All right, here we are, Quinton's Man. So this is the cairn at Quinton's Man. I'm going to find the actual spot on the map that is on the map as Quinton's Man. It's really close here, but I've ducked down into this cairn here just to get out of the wind. So unlike many or most of the other cairns in other parts of the country, Dartmoor cairns were specifically created as burial chambers, so they're not navigation points, although they are really useful for navigation points. The reason they're here is that they were used as a burial chamber. So yeah, it's pretty flat up here, which is great. It's pretty open and windy, but really beautiful. And actually in the morning, if we get it right, we're going to get the most stunning sunrise, assuming I wake up in time. So that was just over 2 hours to get here, and 3.8 miles. So that was pretty cool. What I'll do is I'll add links to my Garmin Connect account in the comments. So if anyone wants to see the routes, feel free to click on the link, and you should go to find my Garmin Connect page. But yeah, question is where to put the tent. All right, sorry about the wind. There's not much I can do about it, I'm afraid. Right, I've walked up to about 1.5 miles further on past Quinton's Man. I thought whilst the daylight was here, I'd make the most of it and just go and see if there was a slightly better place to camp. So I got up to the summit, and it was really wet, really boggy. So I've walked back down towards Quinton's Man, about halfway back, yeah, I've spent about 15-20 minutes trying to find a perfect spot, which doesn't exist up here. So I've just picked one and going to pitch the tent here. So I'm literally right out in the middle of nowhere, really exposed. There's no tools or rocks or anything for me to get any shelter from, but that's fine. Just need to make sure I pitch the tent right. But yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty blowy night, that's for sure. Great views though, we're pretty high up, and yeah, can see for absolutely miles. But I'm going to get the tent up Probably got a couple of hours light left, but I want to make sure I get it up and sorted. So I'm not going to film it. You all know how to put a tent up. I'll see you when it's complete. Alrighty, we're in. Welcome to the accommodation. You know that feeling of just utter relief when you get the tent up and you know that everything's alright and everything's safe and you're going to be alright. It's just such a great feeling, isn't it? Absolutely love it. Alright, well, it is cold and it is very windy. The last half an hour or so, the temperature's really dropped. I am thrilled to bits that I bought the Hilleberg. It's bomb proof, as I'm sure you all know, and it just feels 10 degrees warmer in here, without shadow of a doubt. I've had to put another sort of thermal layer on. Got this Patagonia sort of thermal insulated top here. Yeah, as soon as I've put that on, I've just warmed up no end. It was getting really chilly, so I think I'm gonna make a coffee. Gonna sort of muck about with the camera a bit, even though it's bloody windy. There's actually some quite nice light every now and again when the clouds part. And we've got some awesome views up here, so I'm going to go and see if I can take some decent shots of the views for you, and make myself a coffee and then think about having something to eat, I think. So one other thing I wanted to share with you guys that I'm really excited about is I have a new sleeping bag, and I have a Neutrino Pro 400 by Rab. It is a goose down sleeping bag, and it's the first down sleeping bag that I have owned. My Special Forces sleep system from Snugpack, as fantastic and wonderful as that is, it's not down. It's quite a bit heavier and clunkier than this Rab, which fits really beautifully into the bottom of my Osprey rucksack. So you know, that's a massive bonus. The Snugpack one didn't, so that had to go inside, and it just seemed to take up a lot more room. So I'm yeah, looking forward to sleeping in this tonight. It's definitely going to be a good test of it, because it's I think without question going to be below freezing tonight. So happy days, we shall give that a go. So just having a coffee as the sun goes down. See some fairly dark clouds behind me, I think. Sort of headed this way, so I don't know if we're going to get some of the rain that was forecast fairly soon. Might even be some of that hail that we had earlier by the looks of it. But it is cold. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be out and about much after dark. I think just get in that sleeping bag and eat some food and watch some rubbish on my phone. Oh yeah, cold. Cheers. It's just so nice. So nice. Okay, it's pretty wintry out there, I can tell you. The wind is howling, and yeah, it's pitch black now, so this is definitely it for the night, unless I need a wee. So I think it's going to be time for some dinner. As usual, I have got my packet meals. I've got another Wayfarer coconut curry, obviously chocolate pudding. Can't possibly go camping without chocolate pudding. And then for the morning, beans and sausages. So we should be all set. Going to be cooking in the Jetboil Mini Mo, but I want to have a hot drink, so what I'm going to do is I am going to boil up some water and then put these in the Mini Mo, or put it in the Mini Mo with the cold water, heat the water up so it cooks through. It'll be nice and hot, and then I've got hot water for a drink as well. I haven't got any decaf coffee, unfortunately, which I've just realised. I've only got caffeinated, but I don't think I was going to get much sleep anyway. Right, so let's crack on with some dinner. I have to say, my feet were getting pretty chilly. My boots got quite wet on the way up, and my socks don't feel wet, but I think my feet were just cold. And I wrapped this Rab sleeping bag around my legs and feet, and I'm just toasty warm now straight away. I think enclosing myself in the tent, wrapping myself up in the sleeping bag has just solved the cold feet problem. So that's a pretty good start. Right, let us crack on and get some dinner on the go. Alright, I think this is going to be hot enough now. So I turned the water down when it got to a boil. Turned the gas off as much as anything else, just to try and save some gas in the canister. So I'll keep the water in there, keep that hot. I'm going to put the chocolate pudding in now. That's beans and sausages. So yeah, I'll put the chocolate pudding in now and give that a chance to heat up whilst the water is hot. And then you can always turn it on and give it a bit of a boost if it needs it. But first I've got to find the chocolate. Okay. Right. Oh, it's hot. Okay, so that's the chocolate in there. Tuck in to some coconut chicken curry. Delicious. I think these are definitely my favourite camping foods, the Wayfarer ones. I've got some of the freeze-dried stuff, and I have used it before, but these are just really good. This coconut chicken one in particular, full. Look at that, beautiful. Loads of chicken on that, loads of rice, loads of coconut. Oh, delicious. Right, cheers all. That tastes so good. Besides that lump of chicken. Wonderful. So that's dinner done. Always feel a lot happier after that. And I was going to have a cup of coffee or cup of hot water, but I just had a bit of a disaster and knocked over my Minimo and managed to tip an entire Minimo full of boiling hot water into the tent. As I was sat here, I knocked it and pulled it all over me. So got rather hot feet for a second. The tent pretty much got full of water. Thankfully I had a tea towel in here. I just had to kind of leg it out and mop it up as best I could. Could have been worse. Got it dry now, but sleeping bag didn't get wet or anything, and just got slightly wet feet. But yeah, absolute disaster when it comes to the water. Thankfully I've got about 1.5 litres in my Osprey bladder in the back of my rucksack, so I'll be able to use that in the morning. But yeah, a momentary lapse of concentration, and yeah, that could have been hideous. Right, so I said earlier on I was going to tell you a little bit about Quinton Man, which is the cairn that we stopped at earlier on. So I will just look it up on Google, because it's quite an interesting story, and I'll let you know all about a little bit of Dartmoor folklore. Okay, so this is taken from the website Legendary Dartmoor. Quinton's Man. Just under a mile away from the old ruined farm of Teenhead is Quinton's, or Quinton's Man, which today consists of a ruined cairn. Several years ago, an elderly gentleman who lived outside Chagford related a story his grandfather used to tell him as a boy. Sometime in the late 1800s, an old tramp used to visit the area on his annual rounds and became well known. His visits were so regular that when the local folk saw him, they knew it must be the first 2 weeks of September. If it happened to be a particularly good year, he would spend a few nights camping out in the old ruined cairn. The old tramp would spend the days doing odd jobs in the area, either for coin or food. Having toiled just enough to earn his dinner, he would then shamble back up to Quinton's, where he would eat his supper and spend the night under the moorland stars. This particular year he ambled into the area and started visiting his regular ports of call. It was a balmy autumn, and so his intention was to camp up at Quinton's and enjoy the fresh moorland air. The next day the old tramp was seen with his bundles scurrying off the moor in what was described as a right tizzy. He was invited into a cottage and plied with several cups of strong tea, after which he simply said that there was no way he would ever go near that heathen place again. Everybody agreed that the old tramp at one time had clearly been well schooled and was not the kind of fellow to open to irrational thoughts, so something or someone had clearly scared him witless. A few days later he was doing some gardening at a small cot when the conversation got round to Quinton's Man. Up until this point he had never recounted his bad experience, but with the help of a little drap of medicinals his tongue loosened. It transpired that on the fateful night he had just finished his supper of cold bacon, cheese and bread when he heard a strange scraping sound. It was as if somebody was dragging a large granite boulder along the ground. The evening light had just started to fade, and the mantle of darkness had just begun to draw itself over the moor. About 50 yards away, the old tramp saw a hole opening up in the peat, and it was being dug by invisible hands. The scraping of granite on granite was getting louder and nearer as it seemed to head for what was now a gaping chasm. Suddenly the sound of human voices could be heard, excitedly babbling in a strange tongue from near the hole. A loud thump then rang out across the still moor, and a large granite pillar appeared in the centre of the hole. Inch by inch the stone began to rise from a 45-degree angle to a very erect 90 degrees, at which point the babbling voices changed into a slow chant. A weird green glow seemed to come from the stone, and then a mighty wind howled across the hilltop. No sooner had it passed than the granite pillar, the eerie chanting and the gaping hole simply dissolved into the night air, leaving the moor in total silence. Having related his story, the old tramp finished his chores and headed off towards Chagford, and that was the last time anyone ever saw him. The old cairn where the tramp used to camp is still sitting on the hilltop, but the interesting thing is the place name of Quintin's Man. There are several places called Man on Dartmoor: Loughtal Man, Beardown Man and Harborne Man, and all have derived from the early word main, meaning stone. This element is always applied to menhirs or standing stones, so in the light, Quintin's or Quinta's Man at one time would have indicated the presence of a Bronze Age ritual monument. Goes on to say, this is all well and good, but today there is not a slightest trace of such a structure. So what happened to it, and who was Quintin or Quinta? Nobody knows. The only tenuous suggestion as to the Quintin or Quinta element comes from William Crossing, where he considered that the name derived from the French word quintin or contain, which means a post. It is the actual cairn that is now known as Quintin's or Quinta's Man, which is a total anomaly on Dartmoor as far as the name of cairns go. There is no other example of the man element being used in association with them. So, as there are 3 examples of menhirs with the man prefix and no cairns, it must be logic to say that the menhir has been removed. Was the story of the old tramp's experience an attempt to verify the existence of a menhir? Clearly, what he supposedly saw and heard could be construed as ghostly reenactment of the erection of a menhir. So there we go. That's the story of Quintin's Man. So a few people have been asking how things have been going since I was successful in passing selection for the Dartmoor Search and Rescue team. So I had my assessment day in October, and then spent 3 months sort of on probation before becoming a full trainee member of the team. And everybody who joins the team as a trainee will be a trainee for probably at least 12 months. We get given a pretty big wow, I don't know what this weather is that's just coming in, but it doesn't sound very pleasant. I seem to somehow have sleep coming in the tent. Right, just closing the ventilation there. Well, that sounds pretty minging out there. So yeah, everyone's a trainee for 12 months. We get given a logbook that we have to work through, and in that logbook is all of the skills that we need to learn to be a fully fledged member of the team. So we don't go out on calls until you're a fully jacketed member. Or in other words, since you've filled out your logbook and sort of completed your training, so to speak. But it's great. I absolutely love it. Every Wednesday night we get to go out on the moor and do lots of search and rescue exercises, lots of navigation training, and obviously with it having been winter, all of that is done in the dark, which has been just, you know, a huge learning curve for me, but something that I'm starting to feel more comfortable with. In fact, I feel more comfortable navigating in the dark than I do in daylight, to be honest. But yeah, it's fantastic. Really, really great bunch of people. Everyone's, you know, very committed, as you'd expect and hope. And it's been, yeah, it's been awesome. Managing to work my way through my logbook now and getting things signed off. So it's not something that you can rush. You know, it takes as long as it takes, and it's generally, you know, a minimum of 12 months. So all being well, in sort of January, February of next year, I'll pass my final all-night navigation test and have everything signed off in my book, and get my red jacket. But yeah, it's a great thing to do, and I'm really happy I've done it. And yeah, it's quite a commitment, but yeah, it's awesome. So I'm probably going to turn in for the night now. Might watch a bit of TV. Actually got 4G up here, which is quite amazing. Certainly not going out in that weather. It sounds really sleety. But yeah, I think I'm probably going to have quite a good night's sleep. This sleeping bag is blimmin' lovely. It's I put it inside my Special Forces bivvy bag tonight just because of compensation and what have you. But yeah, my feet are really nice and toasty down the bottom of the bag, so all good so far. We'll see how it is in the night. But yeah, that'll be me for the night, and I shall see you in the morning. Morning all. Wow, what a morning. It's about 6:30. I guess you could say we had some cold weather last night, but that beauty behind me, the big orange ball, managing to warm things up really nicely. So yeah, had an okay night's sleep. I think it was one of those weird ones where I just sort of didn't really think I had slept, and then all of a sudden it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. But as you can see from the tent, we had some quite serious weather in the night. That woke me up. And then throughout the night I just had the noise of ice sliding down the tent, which is a bit weird. Okay, so I think the plan today is just have a bit of a leisurely pack up and wander back, going a slightly different route. I think I am going to walk down towards Teenhead Farm. We're actually fairly close to it. I think we're closer to Teenhead Farm than we are to Sittingford Tor, which is the way I came in. So I think we'll probably wander down to Teenhead Farm, see if there is anything worth looking at down there. It's somewhere I've said I wanted to go and visit, so whilst I'm here, and then yeah, head back. So I think I made the wrong footwear, wrong boot choice. I wasn't sure whether to wear my winter Hillebergs, but I went with my my Salomon Quest 4s, and I think I should have gone with the winter boot. Had I known it was going to be like this, then I would definitely have gone with the Hillebergs. I've got the Hilleberg Bergens, and yeah, they're just a really wonderful winter boot. And my feet are getting a bit chilly just because these are a bit wet. My feet don't feel wet, but the boots are wet. So yeah, obviously first night in the sleeping bag, in the new down sleeping bag, and I mean, as you can see, it was well below freezing last night, and yeah, did a pretty good job. My feet were nice and toasty warm. Certainly didn't wake up cold. I mean, you know, it wasn't like being wrapped up in a nice duvet in bed at home, but it was super comfy, and yeah, did exactly the job it was supposed to do. I slept in some sort of thermal leggings and a thermal long sleeve base layer. Had my hat on, but yeah, other than that, inside the bivvy bag and everything, it was great. Bit of condensation in the tent this morning, but I basically sort of locked everything down really, so it was pretty enclosed in here, and I also didn't have much ventilation, so fully expect condensation. God, that sun coming in is just the best. Absolutely beautiful. Okay guys, we're all packed up. Definitely left no trace where we were, so yeah, double checked all of that, and we're going to make a wander down to Teenhead Farm. So I've taken a bearing from where I am to the corner of some walls down there by Teenhead Farm, and sort of visually marked that. So I've got a couple of trees over there in the forest that are quite obvious that are in line with the bearing, so I can just head for those trees rather than having to follow the compass or follow the bearing or the map. So I've picked my way across the moor there down towards the wall, you've got to be really careful when you're crossing the open moor, especially out here, and especially when there has been some wet weather, because a lot of it is really marshy, and my foot, well, my leg has disappeared down more than one ankle breaker, but thankfully I'm taking it nice and steady, and that's the main reason I've got the walking pole, is so that I can just test the ground in front of me as I go. So that's Sitterford tour up there, where I was yesterday and where I camped a couple of weeks ago. That's the wall that I walked handrailed along yesterday, but the idea is I'm going to pick up this wall, so walk down this slope to pick up that wall, and then handrail that right the way along the top there, and then turn right and drop down into Teenhead Farm. And we're aiming for the corner of the forest over there, which is the gate that we walked through yesterday that took us out onto the open moor. So yeah, it's quite challenging walking, so you just got to be really careful. Whoa. There's a really good example of why you have to be really careful. That looked like solid ground, and my leg disappeared to the knee there. So that's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. But we're okay. Okay, we've made it to the wall. That was a bit steeper and a bit sketchier coming down there than I thought it was going to be. But we're all right. So yeah, here's the wall. My sort of thinking here is it's obviously a really easy feature to handrail, and generally the ground is pretty solid and easier to walk on following the wall than going out to the open moor. So yeah, we're going to head up over the hill there. See what we can see. I've seen quite a few little sort of lizards sunbathing on the rocks, which is quite interesting. You get quite a few adders out here as well, and apparently around Sitterford Tor there's been quite a few spotted recently in the mornings, with them getting their morning heat, so we'll keep our eye out for those, mainly because we'd like to see some, not because we're particularly scared of them, but obviously you want to watch your step, and certainly watch where you're putting your hands if you're sticking them into the ground. Right, let's crack on. I crossed over the wall at the point that was on my bearing, so we're now sort of walking off across the open moor a bit more. It's okay going at the moment. I'm following some animal tracks, so that is where we're going, over there. So not too far, but if we carry on walking on this bearing, aiming towards those trees that I mentioned earlier, we'll hit Teenhead Farm. we made it to Teenhead Farm. I fell over once, having disappeared down a hole. Whoop. And again nearly. But yeah, all in all, that was a pretty decent walk. Wee Christ, this, I'll tell you what, this ground is a bit tricky. So yeah, Teenhead Farm. You can see the old ruins. I think there's the old ruin of a farm building down there, but yeah, it's quite an interesting place. There's not much out here, to be honest, other than some beautiful examples of stone walls. So just in case anyone was thinking of coming out and camping here, you're off the purple patch here, so you're not allowed to wild camp, just in case anyone was thinking of it. So yeah, that's hopefully been an interesting little tour around this part of the moor. Well, interesting for you. It's certainly been interesting for me. I've really enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite wild camps. We had some epic weather, and yeah, all good. Really enjoyed it. So thanks for joining me. Give us a like and a subscribe, and if you like sort of seeing some of the Dartmoor scenery and a bit of wild camping and general outdoorsy stuff, I'd really welcome your subscription. And yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.